So do you have anything, any other advice or anything that you would like to tell anyone who maybe at the beginning of this journey, or maybe they're in a situation where they are feeling a little lost or they're feeling a little hopeless or like a victim? Do you have anything, are you being called to share anything else that might give them some hope in this part of their journey?
Yeah. So for me, when I was going through these great difficulties, I looked to those who came before me. I looked to the stories of the great masters, Jesus, the Buddha. I looked to also people of the modern day, some people that I know personally, some great authors and teachers, some people on YouTube and whatnot. And I recognized that I was walking the same path that they had walked. And I looked for all of the difficulty that they faced in their journey. So I looked at the Buddha. And, if you look in the story of the Buddha closely, you see that he sat down. Well, first, he experienced suffering in his palace. He saw suffering on the parade that he was on. And he realized, oh my gosh, suffering is a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. Prior to that, he was living in this sort of sheltered, suffering-free sort of palace. Anyway, then he said, I have to go and figure out what's going on. And so he spent a long time on a journey visiting different yogis and different ascetics, and they were trying to teach him this and that. And he, couldn't really figure it out. And then finally came to the Bodhi tree. He said, I'm going to sit down under this Bodhi tree and I'm not going to get up until I attain enlightenment. And then people think, okay, he sat down, he became enlightened, good for him, awesome. But the reality, if you look in the story a little bit more, and I don't even know the full details of it, but I understand that he sat down at the Bodhi tree and it was not easy. It was very, very difficult, right? There's tales of demons coming to, taunt him and scare him, and all sorts of challenging things occurred under the Bodhi tree prior to enlightenment, right? And so if we acknowledge that, okay, the Buddha went through it. Well, prior to becoming the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama went through it. Jesus, the dude was literally crucified, right? He was crucified. It was difficult. Look at any of the stories of any of these people, right? I shared my story, and I admittedly did not really divulge the full extent of how difficult it was. But maybe in another conversation, I'll be able to speak about it. But you've experienced it yourself, great difficulty. I know you've talked about, depression and dark nights of the soul in some of your other episodes. Everybody who's attained any sort of peace, heart-centered consciousness, anything, they've all been through something very, very difficult. And so you've got something in common. If you happen to be going through something difficult on your journey, you've got something in common. You walk the path that the same people who you may admire or aspire to be have walked. You're in good company. And perhaps now is your time under the Bodhi tree. And perhaps now is your time on the cross. And for me, my bed became my Bodhi tree, and I stayed there, and it was my safe place to think, feel, or experience anything that may arise. I knew that I wasn't going to die. I had a glass of water, and I knew if I have some water, I can survive for a few days. I don't need food. I'm in my bed. I'm not going to involve other people in any of this. So I'm not going to ruin my life by, going and arguing with somebody because I'm triggered about something. I'm staying in my room, taking space, taking solitude. I have my glass of water, and I have my mantra, I love you. And I just stayed there, and I didn't get up until I was, like you mentioned, reaching points where I was feeling free from things that once triggered me. So whatever was arising, I sat with it, just like how the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree. And I was supported within by my guides, by my Kundalini, by, some teachers and things that I would find online. So I was supported in this way. But to your question, I invite all those that are going through a difficult time to really look to those who have gone through this and know that you're not alone. They've all been through it. Fortunately, you aren't the first one to go through this. There are people who have, come back around to share some really incredible insight. And you can take a little bit of pride in knowing that you are walking the real path. This is the real deal path. You are under the Bodhi tree. And if you just keep going, you will eventually stand up, reborn, transformed, in touch with who you really are, with access to peace, feeling heart-centered, feeling sense of love. And from that place, life still happens. Humanity still happens. Your humanness will still rear its head from time to time. Suffering will still happen. Mistakes will still happen, but you will know a little bit more about who you are. You'll have a connection to who you are on the deepest level, and you'll be able to integrate that into the humanity, into the difficulty that arises in life, embracing it fully. And that's the journey in a nutshell right there. It is ongoing, and perhaps we will have to return to the Bodhi tree at another time, and that's welcome too. But every time we return back to the Bodhi tree, we recognize we got up once before and it worked out, so this time it's going to work out as well. And that's faith. Faith is knowing that it's going to work out. And so that's my message for all those struggling, having a difficult time. I hear you. I've been there. Megan's been there, but it does get better. Keep going. Be with yourself. You need to be with yourself now more than ever. So you don't want to abandon yourself now. You got to be with yourself more than ever now. So that's what's coming through today.